NATO would have stopped expanding if Russia didn't invade. Most likely, there would have been no reason for Finland or Sweden to join NATO, and they decided to join because he invaded. So he compelled them to do so. See what I'm saying, big guy? And why is he so obsessed with NATO? Like, Putin claimed that he wanted to get into NATO, and he asked them to get into NATO. You can find the video where the former head of NATO was meeting with Putin, shaking hands, very friendly ties. Blair and Bush were friendly with Putin. Obama was friendly with Putin. All of them were. The only ones that weren't were a couple Republican hawks, McCain, Lindsey Graham. Some of the neocon types were anti-Putin, but Obama was not following that lead, right? There are some people that were in the Obama administration, like Newland, that are anti-Putin, but Obama was pursuing his own policy. And yeah, things went south in 2014 when he took over Crimea. Then things went real south. But then Trump was fucking trying to make amends. Trump was quite pro-Putin too. So what do you... Like, this idea that they all just are out to get him and shit, not true. It's a total exaggeration. This is a Putin lie to justify his own bullshit, right? It's basically, they don't let him get whatever the fuck he wants to do. They don't let him do whatever he wants to do, and that's being anti-Putin. So to be anti-Russia is to not let Russia do whatever it wants to do in Europe, right? That's their definition of being anti-Russia, right? Is really like... fucking surprised that like the Ukrainians want to get into NATO after they've been invaded? Of course they do now. Of course they do now. You've seen like the people in Ukraine and Finland and Sweden, the opinion polls, like prior to the invasion, you asked them if they want to get into NATO and the opinions were split. But now that they've invaded, the opinions polls have just shot right up, that like 80% plus want to get in now. So he's guaranteed the expansion of NATO, right? And anyone who's doing this kind of, scary NATO will invade Russia, no, they fucking won't. They know that's going to be a nuclear exchange, and they're not going to do it. It's just a fake talking point Putin's using. And who's invading who? The only country that's been invaded is Ukraine. The only country that's losing its land is Ukraine since 2014. Russia hasn't lost 1 inch of territory. Ukraine has. Ukraine's lost 1/4 of its landmass. The Jews in Washington sabotage peace talks. No, Putin sabotaged peace talks by fucking invading, you idiot. The peace talks, this is the thing with Russian peace talks. Basically what the peace talks amount to is you getting on your knees and sucking Putin's cock. That's what a peace talk is with Putin. Putin doesn't make any peace with anything. So go look back into his policy in Chechnya, right? 0 talks. Like he said when he was bombing Chechnya, he refused to do any kind of negotiations with the Chechen separatists at all. He just bombed the fuck out of them, shot them, hunted them down, killed every last one of them, and propped up a puppet regime. That's what he does. He doesn't make peace. He's not about peace. He's an old school Soviet imperialist. He's not about peace. So whatever peace terms he wants to come to, it's basically he just gets more land. So basically the peace term is Ukraine gives up all of the land that Russia has taken, and that's the terms. Yeah. So these are the terms, okay? Ukraine gives up all of the land that has been lost, and they're declared neutral, and they can never get into NATO, and they're totally demilitarized. Does that sound like a fair deal for Ukraine, sir? Like, that's what it would be. And if he doesn't get every single fucking point on his list, then there's no peace. He will just keep bombing. Do you see how it works here? Like, it's retarded. Like, let's say Zelensky makes a peace deal and says, we're going to let you keep all of this territory that you've taken from us. There's absolutely, and he won't actually make the peace deal unless Zelensky says we'll never get into NATO as well. And what guarantee does Ukraine have that Putin won't just invade them again tomorrow? After a week after the peace talks are signed, what guarantee do they have that he won't just fucking invade them again? He did it. Well, he already did it once. So, of course, the only thing that these Ukrainians can count on now is getting into NATO to prevent further incursions into their lands. I mean, yeah, you're probably an American, you're probably sitting in your comfy little home, and you have no worries in the world, and you don't have to deal with these people. and you're just giving him the benefit of the doubt, like he's the peacemaker. He's not a peacemaker. He's the last person who will make a peace deal that doesn't totally favor himself. It would be equivalent to Ukraine invading Russia, taking 1/4 of Russian territory, and declaring that Russia can never get in any kind of defense pact with other countries or a security guarantee from other countries, and has to totally demilitarize, because that was the initial justification, was demilitarization and denazification. Yeah, so it has to become a rump, totally prostrate, bent over satellite regime under the influence of Russia. That's all that it could ever be under a peace agreement with Putin, right? But of course, you, as living in America, don't care about that because it doesn't affect you. You don't have any history here. You don't have any historical beef. You've never experienced this. You're not the one being bombed. And so for you, it's very easy to say, just make a peace deal, Ukraine. Just give up and make a peace deal. It's like, it's not so fucking simple, right? And what's so funny about that is, why don't these same people who say this, like there was a good post on Telegram about this, the same people who say that Ukraine needs to stop fighting and just give up and make the peace deal and sign whatever Putin wants. Okay, let's apply that to Palestine, right? The Palestinians should just totally give up. Why is Hamas fighting against Israel? Why is Hamas shooting rockets at Israel, right? Why aren't you telling them to give up? Why aren't you saying that, like, the Iranians giving missiles to Hamas is just escalating the violence and escalating the bloodshed and more of their people will die? They're not saying it about Palestine, right? And they're not saying it about Syria, where Assad refused to give up an inch of territory to rebels, right? Assad refused. He was intransigent. He wouldn't give up 1 inch of territory to rebels or to the Kurds, those Rojava Kurds in the north of Syria who were trying to break off and separate. He totally refused any peace talks, any agreements, and he just bombed them and bombed them and bombed them. And then he got Russia to come in to help him bomb some more until every last rebel was killed or subdued or captured. And so, and these fucking faggots were cheering Assad on. These fucking faggots were all in for that shit, saying, yeah, he shouldn't give up 1 inch, he shouldn't make any talks, any peace deal. But then for Ukraine, it's all capitulation, talks, you give up, weapons are going to prolong the war. But then they don't say that for Syria. Wasn't Russia supporting Syria doing the same thing? Russia giving weapons to Syria doing the same thing? Yeah, see, they don't do it because they're tactically doing this shit if it helps Russia. So you notice their position in every one of these conflict zones, whatever position suits the Russian Kremlin interest, they will take that position, even if it contradicts itself, overall. That's how you know they're working for the Russian government, right? Because they have no solid principles. It's not carried over to other conflict zones. It's always just what benefits Russia, what benefits this Eurasian alliance, what benefits China, Iran, these countries that are aligned with the Kremlin. But then any country that's not aligned with the Kremlin, it's just pure criticism, pure demoralization, pure capitulation, pure attacks. I mean, it's just fucking pathetic, man. It's just so obviously a intelligence operation, right? These people, these commenters on the internet saying these things, it's an intelligence operation. These people are in fucking, St. Petersburg typing away in some goddamn troll factory, right?